Goat rearing is a very important occupation, we can say, in the village, for the village rural livelihood, where women are they are mostly done by the woman. Goat, also known as poor man's cow, and an ATM for the farmers, where they can get the ready market. Also, they can adjust to the hardy and the weather constraints, and also space requirement for keeping the animal is not much. So it is one of the profession, one of the farming which can very rapidly increase the income, as the gestation period is of 150 days only. Transition period is actually a stage where the animal undergoes a massive physiological, metabolic, and nutritional changes. And it is a very important period, 3 weeks prepartum and 3 weeks postpartum. So this is the period where the animal needs maximum care, and this is the period where the care is not taken at the exact way it is to be taken. So transition period happens to be one of the very important area. So the importance of this period is that we know that the turning point of a productive cycle of a doe is from one kidding to the next, and it is one of the most delicate and stressful period for a doe in terms of health, production, and fertility. And management during this period is very important, as it will improve the health, production, and reproduction, minimizes the feed intake depression and negative nutrient balance before calving. Also, it promotes the rapid return to the positive nutrient balance which animal goes through during the tremendous need of energy and like dietary requirements during this period. Also, the risk and impact of the infectious diseases is minimized on proper transition management. Now, when we come to the goals for transition period, we have to set a goal what is to be taken care of during this period. That is, number one, involution of mammary gland. Number two, proper management provides added nutrients to meet the needs of the fetus. It helps to stimulate the immunity, stimulates the rumen microflora and rumen papillae. We all know that during the last part of after kidding, or during the few days before parturition or kidding, if we give diet to the animal, then that the rumen microflora and rumen papilla are not able to adjust to the abrupt change in the diet, and which leads to ultimately which leads to acidosis, and also due to increased volatile fatty production, it can lead to depression in the feed intake, and also conditions like laminitis. Also, on feed management, we have seen DMI is maintained and metabolic disorders are also reduced. It also maximizes the rise in feed intake after kidding. When we see the standings of India in the world, we see that India is the largest milk producer globally with 23.6% share in total milk production. It is supporting 8 crore farmers by employing them, and also 5% of the Indian national economy is contributed by dairy, which is the single largest agricultural commodity. And when we see to the other factors, 2.4% globally, the meat production is being sufficed by our country. Now, the leading states, when we come to our own country, we see that the leading states in goat production, Rajasthan is leading in goat population as well as in the goat milk population. But in case of goat meat production, West Bengal is leading the country in terms of goat meat production. When we take a goat farming as a farm, when we suggest, then we have to see all the pros and cons of doing a farming, whatever we have to do. Now, when we see the advantages of goat farming, we see it requires less space, uh, less feeding requirement, availability of many breeds. The farmer can choose to go for either for the dairy breeds or for the meat breeds. The market is ready, no religious taboo. It is a hardy animal. Goats are hardy, tolerant to climate. They grow very fast, and also a good source of employment and high return of interest. These are the advantages. But when we see the disadvantages in the village area, we see that still the traditional system is being followed, where the farmers, without lack of knowledge, they are not following the proper practices, like in case of deworming, in case of vaccination, in case of the knowledge about the feeding during the prepartum and postpartum period. Also taking care of inability, they are not able to choose the right breed. Also, they start without experience. And also, it has been observed in many situations there is a lack of veterinary service. And also, when they want to start a farm in a big scale, that is a minimum 50 goats at a time, they lack the capital. So that is one of the disadvantages observed in the dairy goat farming system. Whenever we go for farming, what is the primary objective of farming comes into our mind. So the primary objective of the farming is to maximize farm productivity and also maximum farm profitability. Now, to make the profit of a farm depends on flock productivity, production cost, and sale price of the kids. Now, when we talk about the flock productivity, now when we see the farm productivity, we see that what does it mean? Like how can we increase the farm productivity? That is the average number of kids sold per cycle and average daily gain. Number of kids to be sold. Supposing we are having a goat farm having 100 breeders, then 160 kids per breeding cycle is an expected number of kids. When we go to see the flock productivity, we see that the out of the 100 goats, percentage conception might come to 90, and newborns might come to 180. Here we have considered twins, and mortality and adult mortality, if we see 5%, then survive percentage is 162. We have calculated. Now sales per doe per cycle is 1.6. So however, we see that for flock productivity status in the field is 20 to 30% less than the prescribed number that informed. Now what can be the reasons? Like when we go to see the reasons, they are poor nutrition. There are many reasons. One of them is poor nutrition, insufficient ration, imbalanced ration, unclean and insufficient drinking water. These are some of the very core reasons that can lead to decrease in the prescribed productivity of the animal. Now, how to get the goal, how to get the desired, objective. To get the desired objective, the best farm management is the only solution to get the desired objective. Farm management is a process of dealing with controlling farming activities and husbandry activities. It is an art which involves very important the breed selection, the breed, then feeding, the type of feed that we are giving, whether it is a whether the feeding is a balanced feeding or not, the culling, the removal of unproductive herd from the farm, and healing, keeping a close watch on the animals, their production cycle, doing their deworming regularly, vaccination regularly, and also regular monitoring to see if any. Now, when we see what is feeding, giving balanced ration in correct quantities to each goat according to the body requirements, according to the physiological status of the animal, is the right answer for the balanced ration. So, if we do not give balanced ration, if poor nutrition is provided to the animal, it results in poor productivity, poor conception rate, low birth weight of kids, poor weaning weights, difficult birth, more infectious diseases due to decreased immune system protection. So imbalanced feed can lead to many other problems, and these are the major problems observed in case of transition animals where this can affect majorly in the farm productivity. Goals for scientific goat nutrition, that is number one is to maximize the conception rate, to have maximum conception rate, minimize the embryo and fetal mortality, birth of viable kids, rapid growth, increase in milk production from the dairy goats, minimizing the feeding costs. Now, when we see what is a ration, then ration we all know is a feed given to an animal during a 24-hour period. And what is a balanced ration? As already told, the feed given in right proportion as per the requirement for growth, maintenance, gestation, and lactation. Also, it is very important that along with the concentrate, it should contain legume plus non-leguminous feed. Feed is a nutritious substance. We all know that it comprises of two parts, organic and inorganic. An inorganic part consists of water and minerals. An organic part is carbohydrate, protein, fat, and vitamins. Now, coming to the type of feeds, we all know roughages, concentrates, and additives are the type of feedstuffs given to the animal. And roughages are the rough and bulky, whereas concentrates are fine and non-bulky. Likewise, roughages are dry and green, having more than 60% TDN, and concentrates are all seed and seed byproducts. with more than 60% TDN. They can be cultivated, roughages can be cultivated or naturally grown crop, whereas concentrates are dry or in liquid form. Coming to more details, the source of roughages, cultivated forages, if we see maize, lucerne, fresh, cotton carry, preserved, can be preserved as silage if we are having a big farm, but for a small farm, a silage will not be economical. Dried hay, if plenty of leguminous fodder is available, then we can convert it into hay and feed during the leaner period. Crop residues, maize, stover, straw, paddy can be used. Pulse crop, we can use mung residue. Oilseed crops, we can use groundnut, soya, which will also serve as a slight source of protein. And in natural conditions, grazing lands, pastures, and tree leaves can suffice as a source of roughage. Now, concentrates already known to us, the cereal grains, oilseed cakes, they serve as the major source of concentrates, and minerals and vitamin source, salt and mineral mixture also are added in a balanced diet. Vitamins play a very important role in a diet, that is vitamins and minerals both. Now, vitamins, we all know A, D, E, K are the fat soluble vitamins which are important for reproduction, which are also important for ruminal and intestinal bacterial synthesis. Also important, like vitamin D synthesized and screened through UV radiation and also is available in sun-cured forages. Water-soluble vitamins, B complexes and vitamin C are the water-soluble vitamins, and B complex is synthesized easily in the rumen, and vitamin C is available to the animal through the green plants. Now, next, as we already know that minerals play a very important role in the animal. Calcium, phosphorus, and sodium are the three macro minerals along with the others which play a very pivotal role, which requirement is very much essential. And likewise, in case of micro minerals also, we see that there are 8 microminerals in which almost all the microminerals play a very important role. Here I missed out ultra trace mineral, that is chromium, which also plays a very important role in case of periparturient animal or in case of transition animals during transition period. Nutritional disorders can be due to excess or deficiency or imbalance of nutrients. Now, nutritional disorders, high legume intake, if taken, can lead to bloat. High grain intake can lead to lactic acidosis, and also ketosis, negative energy balance can lead to ketosis. Improper imbalance in calcium and phosphorus can lead to urolithiasis. Calcium deficiency can lead to milk fever. Hypomagnesemia after lambing, this is one of the important conditions seen in case of deficiency of magnesium. Selenium and vitamin E deficiency seen in case of white muscle disease, seen in deficiency of selenium and vitamin E. The other nutritional and deficiency diseases observed are blindness and pressing head in case of vitamin A and B1. In case of zinc, we have seen that dry patches of skin, dandruff, poor libido, hoof deformity, swollen feet, stiff joints are observed in case of animals. Zinc plays a very important role in reproduction also. And also there is a hair loss observed in case of excessive selenium, which leads to deficiency of these two excessive minerals. Excessive salivation observed on deficiency of zinc and sulfur, and also in deficiency of sulfur, tearing of eyes is observed. And other deficiency diseases related to mineral like copper, iodine, potassium, magnesium, and manganese, we have seen that paralysis of hind legs, stillbirths, rough hair coat observed very frequently in case of copper deficiency, and hairless fetus is observed in case of iodine deficiency. Also, pica, a very common problem in the field, is due to phosphorus deficiency and also due to potassium deficiency. And low milk, low urine, excitement, and convulsion observed in magnesium deficiency. We often see foreleg deformity, reluctant to walk, and knuckling, which is due to manganese deficiency. Drinking water, which is a part of, which is one of the component of nutrient, is having no organic nutrient is available in water. It is an inorganic, but water is one of the major nutrient. 60 to 65% of body water consists of water. Loss of more than 15% water causes death. Requirement of water for animals is 4%, 4 into dry matter intake, that percentage of dry matter intake, 4 times the dry matter intake, which depends on season, feed, and physiological status of the animal. Also, we see that drinking water in the summer requirement increases up to 50%, whereas in winter it decreases by 25 to 50%. Consumption, if green fodder is offered, drinking water consumption is reduced definitely, as it contains the in case of green fodder, moisture content being high, so drinking water consumption is reduced. Likewise, in case of dry fodder, the consumption of drinking water increases. When we see that how much does a feed provide water, we see that from the feed, the animal can get 20 to 25% water, and from drinking 65 to 70%. Metabolic water that utilizes from its body is 10 to 15%. The water provided to the animal should always be fresh and clean. Otherwise, that can lead to a lot of diseases. Now, coming straight to the dry matter requirement, that is percentage body weight of the body weight dry matter requirement of the animal, up to 3 months, 6% of the body weight, up to 4 to 6 months, 5% of the body weight, 7 to 9 months, 4% of the body weight, and in case of adult goat, 4% of the body weight. Additional requirement will be required in addition to that. That depends on the type of breed, small breeds or large breeds. Then as per the size, age and sex of the animal, physiological status, whether the animal is lactating, pregnant, or is in wool production. Also the season, the season of breeding, whether it is in the winter season or in a normal season. And also it will depend on the environment. Now coming to the kid nutrition, right from the stage when the animal is born, the care is to be taken. That is, colostrum feeding should be given till 3 days, which in the village conditions we usually observe that this is not very known, that it is a very important part for the growth of the kid. And milk feeding 60 days, we suggest that by 60 days the animal is to be weaned, the kid is to be weaned, as if it after weaning it and separating it from the mother, the lactating, the doe prepares herself for the next production cycle. Likewise, the starter ration to the kid is started from 15 days itself, 15 to 90 days, and grower ration from 90 days onward. Colostrum, the rate of colostrum feeding is 100 ml per kg live weight. This is a chart which is for the kids should be allowed to suck the dam for first 3 days. That is colostrum feeding, so that the good amount of colostrum, they develop, the immune system becomes strong, and they have a very good production cycle and very healthy, productive health ahead. So we see that 1 to 3 days, 350 ml in 3 feeding is suggested. 4 to 14 days, 350 ml in 3 feeding. Likewise, 15 to 30, 350 ml with small quantity of creep and small quantity of forage. And on 31 to 40, 60 days, 150 to 100 to 150 creep feed and forage free choice should be started. Likewise, 60 to 90 days, that is from the second to the third month, 200 to 250 gram creep feeding should be given along with free choice of forages. We see that kid nutrition, the creep feeding is to be started as I already showed in the previous slide, that it should start from the 15 days of age and up to 2 to 3 months of age. Now, what are the advantages of creep feeding? When we see what are the advantages, we see that it provides supplemental nutrients for the early growth, encourages early consumption of feed, and also stimulates early weaning. Creep feeding contains coccidiostats that protects the animal against worms, maintains a 2:1 calcium phosphorus ratio. These are the advantages of creep feeding. However, fresh water should always be provided to the animals when they are having an external source of feed. And this is the creep ration, which should contain. Creep ration can be of any prepared from any ingredients. However, it should contain DCP of 16 to 18%. This can be location specific as per availability of feed in your area. It should consist of cereals, proteins, bran, mineral nature, and also antibiotic is added to protect the health of the kids. Common salt is added at 1%. So DCP should be 16 to 18%, and TDN should be 70 to 80%. Now, coming to the grower ration, growing period is the period where the animal actually, when reared by on business mode, needs to be given grower ration. Although we see that when we rear goats, hardly there is a provision of giving a concentrate ration to the goats by the farmers. However, when they are doing it on business mode, when they are doing it as a source of business with more than 550 or 100 kids, then we have to suggest that some amount of grower ration is to be supplemented, as that will decide the overall production of the animal in the days to come. The DCP of the diet, whatever is prepared as per availability of the region, should be 12 to 14%, and TDN should be 60 to 65%, in between 60 to 65%. Now, coming to the doe nutrition, feed should be according to the stage of gestation: breeding period, early gestation period, late gestation period, and lactation period. Now, during a feeding of dry goats, it is observed that dry period is the period between weaning and breeding. This is the time where the doe replenishes the losses from previous kidding, as she has drained all her nutrients while producing the kid, and also sufficing the nutrient requirement of the kid through milk. Now she has to prepare herself for the next kidding. So that is the period where which is known as the dry period. This is the time when the doe regains the waste lot during previous lactation. So she should be put on 6 to 4 hours of grazing, and nutrient requirement is low. It should be put on 2% of the body weight. Now, on availability of good fodder and pasture, browsing, no concentrate feed is required. And on non-availability of good fodder, good quality fodder, minimum 150 to 350 gram feed per animal per day. Yes, depending upon the breed, or what kind of breed we are keeping, we have to decide accordingly age and weight of the animal. And also the DCP requirement during this period, during the dry period, and during the early lactation period, it is 12%. Addition of mineral mixture, which is not taken care of usually, should always be suggested, and it will be beneficial for the recouping or recovering the losses that she had in the previous lactation. Now, preparing a doe for pregnancy, that is increasing the level of nutrition before and after mating, results in high ovulation and conception rates. Also, we have to make a provision for additional nutrition needs in late pregnancy and early lactation. So, right from the time when we are preparing the doe for breeding, we have to take care of. Flushing diet is very not very commonly practiced in villages. That is, we need to feed extra 25% more than the maintenance 2 to 3 weeks before breeding the doe, as that this will help in increasing the ovulation rate, increasing the conception rate, improves the fertility rate, increases the multiple births. If we are expecting twins, triplets, or quadruplets, then flushing period plays a very important role. Feeding the right amount of diet in right proportion plays a very important role. Also, reliance on quantity and availability of forage is also one of the very important factor related to feeding breeding goats. In the early gestation, here the gestation length has been divided into 3 periods: is 0 to 50 days, 50 to 100 days, and more than 100 days. So when we see that in the early lactation period, that is 50 to 100 days, first 100 days feeding is similar to dry goats. That is, not much nutrient is required. It has to be taken care of with a minimum, putting them on grazing. If good pasture is there, no concentrate required. If no good pasture is there, then putting on 150 to 300 grams as per the body weight, age, and the breed of the animal. As the fetal growth is slow in this time, and however, we have to increase the fodder. That already I have discussed in my previous slide, that we have to put the animal for 6 to 8 hours grazing. Body condition is to be observed, and up to 100 days, fetal development is slightly slow, but after 100 days, growth of the fetus is rapid and grows at a tremendous rate. 70% of the fetal growth and mammary gland growth takes place in last 50 days, which is a very critical period for the animal. So, increased nutrient requirement of the dose is very essential. Poor nutrition affects the production, will give low birth weight, low milk production, and low mothering ability. This period plays a very vital role in the production and reproduction of the doe as well of the kid. If the doe is fed properly, at least the prepartum diet is given in a proper dose 3 weeks prior to parturition, prior to kidding. If we are giving a good diet to the animal, that will lead to the growth of ruminal flora and ruminal papillae, which will be able to, by which the animal will be adjust to abrupt increase in diet. Now, also the birth weight of the kid or the calf will increase. Milk production, as the animal is already adjusted to the feed, so sudden abrupt change will not lead to any disturbance in the ruminal ecosystem. So that since the consumption and digestion of the feed will be in a better mode, so milk production will increase, and mothering, as she is able to produce milk, she is able to mother the newborn, her mothering ability or mothering ability will also increase. Now, we also see that during the last 50 days, there is a rapid increase in demand of in growing fetus, development of mammary glands, initiation of synthesis of milk component that modifies the metabolism directly. So we see that feed requirement during this period is 4 to 4.5% of the body weight. And during this period, if we can put the animal minimum for grazing 4 to 5 hours a day, if the grazing land is nearby, so that will be very good for the animal. And on good pasture, if it is grazed on a good pasture, 200-gram concentrate, if offered, will definitely help the animal to recoup the increasing demand of her body. In case of lactation goat, there is definitely after parturition, after kidding, the need the milk for increasing for the demand of the milk by the kids. There will be increased demand of nutrient by the dose. Increased nutrient demand of dose will increase. Good nutrition of the doe is definitely leads to the faster growth of the newborn. Lactation peaks at 2 to 4 weeks. Like the peak of lactation usually is seen starts from 2 to 4 weeks. So feed at a body weight of 4 to 5% of the body weight is to be given, and the animal is to be put on grazing for 6 to 8 hours. Buck nutrition also has to be taken care of. So I have included this slide also. Feed requirement for the buck is 3 to 3.5% of the body weight. Grazing hours 6 to 8 hours. Concentrate mixture 500 gram per day, depending upon the breed of the animal. 4 to 5% DCP is sufficient, with 50 to 60% TDN for the buck nutrition. Now we see in this slide the nutrient requirement of those during pregnancy. That is 0 to 50 days. We see it is slightly increasing, 50 to 100, slightly increases, and 100 to 150 days we can see there is a tremendous increase in nutrient requirements of the animal. This can be the case of doe, or this can be in case of all the animals, all the ruminant animals. So we see the last part of the pregnancy is very important. The last trimester of pregnancy in case of all the animals is very important period where the mother, the dam has to meet the nutrient requirements for the developing fetus, for the growth of the mammary glands, and also keeping her body ready for production of milk. During this period, animal physiology drastically changes. Higher nutrient requirements for last part of pregnancy due to one or more fetus is always there. Kidding is a stressful event, so dietary change with feed intake and appetite fluctuation. Mammary gland prepares itself for lactation. There is a general hormonal change during this period. Now, negative energy balance, increased energy requirement with reduced energy availability, which is seen usually in case of dairy goats, or also in case of during the transition periods, when the energy requirement is more and availability is less, that leads to negative energy balance. When negative energy balance, whenever it is seen, then all kind of diseases starts, all the metabolic diseases as discussed already by our special guest, the ketosis, pregnancy toxemia kind of diseases starts. Also, we see that multiple births are frequent in case of goats, so there is an increased requirement for energy. Body mobilizes to meet the requirement on when it is not available, when the energy is not available, body mobilizes endogenous lipid sources to produce more energy. Hepatic metabolism unable to meet the increased requirement of transition period. This leads to all kind of diseases the animal faces during this transition period. So supplementary feeding of goats during transition period. I made a separate slide again instead of the other slide. That is concentric, keeping in mind the critical points that we are to remember while formulating a feed, which should consist of 15% crude protein. Although we say 12 to 15%, 15% sufficing 15% crude protein in the last during the last 3 weeks and for the next 3 weeks will definitely help a lot in increasing the health of the dam and thereby maximizing the production and productivity from the maximum production and productivity from the animal. Also, TDN, if taken care of from to 65%, will definitely help in overall performance of the doe. Supplementary feeding composition can be varied depending on availability of input, socioeconomic status of the farmers and the field conditions. However, 15% crude protein and 65% TDN, if met, will definitely be a game changer in case of production and increasing the production and productivity. Transition period. This period has already discussed 3 weeks before and 3 weeks post skidding. Animal is forced to deal with the radical changes as difficulties of gestation, parturition, onset of lactation, appetite fluctuation from a gestation diet to lactation diet. As the animal immediately after parturition, she remains off fed for a few days. Again, that time care is to be taken care of to feed her with immediately after parturition. Care is to be taken that she is given warm water, bulky and laxative ration is to be provided. Wheat bran and oat or barley or maize in 1:1 ratio is to be provided for the next 2 to 3 days will definitely help her, and then suddenly change to the her lactation ration, gradually change to the lactation ration is to be done. So fluctuation in hormonal level also observed during this transition period, as we see that cortisol level rises up, as it is known to us that, and again the insulin level comes down. So a lot of hormonal changes, metabolic changes goes on during this period. So feeding, it plays a very important role in stabilizing these fluctuations and maintaining the production and productivity, and in fact increasing the production and productivity of the animal. Now finally, whenever we start a farm, proper production plan, feed and fodder plan should be taken, should not be started in a hurry. Always we should advise our farmers to ensure quantities of feed and fodder reserved for the next 100 days, as sudden need of the feed and fodder or sudden without proper planning and the farm, we may face a lot of problems. So whenever we start a farm, we have to be well planned and well prepared. Supplementary feeding during transition period is very important to increase the income generation, which increases the breeding percentage is increased, kid birth weight is increased, growth of the kid is increased, though health condition is improved. In case of multiple births, it also supports the dam in carrying the multiple births, decreases the economic losses due to kid mortality. If the dam is healthy, definitely the kid will be healthy. Decreases the problems during kidding. We always see that during the negative energy balance, when there is a like the energy deficient diet is being fed, the animal the body condition score of the animal is not good, then there are a lot of problems related to kidding has been observed. Also, feeding economical and balanced diet is very important. Identifying nutritional needs of goat, deworming, regular deworming, the message is very important. I believe in spite of the work of the scientists, extension workers, still the farmers are yet to practice the vaccination and deworming at regular intervals. At least 3-month deworming by changing the dewormer periodically will definitely help to improve the health of the animal, as most of the goats that goat rearers they take their animals for natural pasture where they pick up where they can pick up worms. So regular deworming at 3 months interval, if um, done by the farmer, will definitely help a lot in reducing many problems. Ensuring 24/7 access to free, fresh, and clean drinking water will also definitely help in metabolizing the nutrients that the animal has taken and help in the overall productivity and health of the animal. Force feeding should never be done, and feed intake should be voluntary by the kids. While concluding my presentation today, the integrated approach of extension activities like training, on-farm trials, demonstration, farm literatures to be used for adoption of scientific practices, sensitizing and improving knowledge level of farmers definitely will we have a long way to go, will help in improving food production and productivity. Also, awareness and focus on promotion of supplementary feed preparation using regional, local, available resources so that farmers can prepare their own feed with low investment can also help the farmers in maintaining their farm. And we see that regular follow-ups, visits, field level observations with regards to scientific feeding, weighing, and advisory services will help a lot. Efforts should be made to motivate the farmer and creation of interest for adoption of supplementary feeding. Preparing supplementary feeding as per the availability of feed ingredients, if this message can be sent to the farmers, because they won't, it will be a very hard task to persuade them to purchase the feed. So if they can prepare on their own, then definitely the cost of feed will be less. So if we can motivate the farmers and create their interest, then definitely the adoption of supplementary feeding will be feasible. And also strengthening the scientific knowledge of farmers and making them adopt scientific practices in form of supplementary feeding, deworming, and vaccination will play a big role in improving the production and productivity and improving the goat livestock status in the country.